Hi, Jim here, just dropping in before this week's episode to tell you about my latest movie, The Apocalypse Box. It's a horror film and I'd love for you to check it out. If you go to apocalypsebox.co.uk, you can find all the links on where you can watch the movie. Right, let's get on with this week's episode. Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker Podcast, career advice from people in the business. This week I'm speaking to filmmakers Georgia Conlan and Martin Hardwick. Their film Charlotte recently premiered at the Fright Fest Film Festival, and the film's now been released on Amazon Prime and Tubi, both here in the UK and in the USA. I talked to Georgia and Martin about the film. We talked about what it's like shooting on a low budget, how they got the funds to make the movie, how they put it together. I also talked to Georgia about directing the film. She's also the star of the film, so we chatted about what it's like to direct herself in the movie. We talked about some of the challenges they faced along the way, sales and distribution. So the film was put onto Amazon and Tubi via Film Hub, so we talked about that process a bit. And we talked about their advice for people in the same position as them working on their first debut feature. Enjoy. So the movie's called Charlotte, and I'd suggest someone, if they're going to listen to this, is maybe go away and watch the movie first. I'm going to try my best not to spoil it, but just in case, maybe go watch the movie, then come back and listen to the podcast. But first of all, I'll tell you what, Georgia, can you tell us what the story is for the film?
This is quite a difficult answer without giving anything away. So essentially it's about a young girl who runs away from home. So she's from sort of an abusive household, and she doesn't have a very good relationship with her dad. And she sort of runs away. And as she's sort of out, she gets lost and can't seem to find her way home. So she goes to the closest house that's sort of there in her sight, and seeks refuge there. And then Roy, the other lead character, he sort of helps her and lets her stay the night. And then from that point, she sees him as a sort of safety net and someone that she can trust. And so they develop this sort of relationship, which then turns out to be not perhaps the safest choice that she could have made. And was sort of led to believe, will she actually save her at home? So it's just exploring that sort of relationship and dynamic between those two characters.
I wrote half my questions while I was watching the film. And I hadn't got to the end yet.
And then you ripped
so,
it off.
I started writing them, and I was like, and I'd seen your name in the credits, and Martin had mentioned you'd be hopping on, and I'd only seen it as the acting credit. So at the time, I thought, oh, okay, I'm getting a bit confused with who I'm talking to. And my question was going to be about casting, and it was like, oh, it really hinged on that Charlotte actress. Any tips for casting? How did you find her? So this is kind of for both of you, really. Obviously, you've both come up with this story and put it together yourselves. Did you ever have any concerns that you wouldn't be able to get away? I mean, how old is Charlotte in the story?
12.
12.
I'd say 12. I think that's kind of as young as you can go with it, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it is. I mean, Georgia will tell you, like she gets mistaken for being a child quite often.
Yeah, it's just my everyday sort of life.
So did you ever? You weren't worried. You weren't like, oh, are people going to buy this?
I think I was at first, because we originally had the sort of costume design being the secondary school. So a lot of our old imagery and concept art was based around her in sort of the classic blazer and tie. But then we thought, what if we sort of made it less in an age bracket and sort of had it a little bit younger in terms of the costume? But she never says her age, so it was more, I don't know how young I can get away with, so we'll sort of create Charlotte to be as young as she can, and then it's up to people watching it to sort of make their minds up. So It was mainly down to the way I had to act it, but obviously because she's so far away from my real age, it was that challenge of, looking it's one thing, but sort of portraying a vulnerable child is a different thing. So it was more that the acting sort of side I thought would be more of the challenge. But then because I know me and Martin knows me, and then when we'd shown, we had the first sort of cut, if you like, and we wanted to show people for feedback. Everybody knew me, so it was hard we couldn't get that stranger's opinion of how old do you think this actress is, because they all knew it was me. So even then, it was more when we'd got to Fright Fest, we sort of knew whether it would work or not. It was a massive risk.
Yeah, I think we didn't really experience any opinions from anyone at any point until Fright Fest, really, that didn't know Georgia, because obviously we didn't show many people. But it's hard. Even people that I know from work, they know of Georgia and what she does. So it's kind of we just had to sort of, I think, like Georgia said, I think it were more down to the way she were acting. I think you can look young, but like I think if you act young as well, it kind of sells it as well. And I think that's what Georgia did really well.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
And
then I guess the other part of that is, and I've spoken to actors before who've directed themselves. How do you, Georgia, know? Because I'm thinking to myself, I've done a little bit of acting, but how do you know it's any good when it finishes? How do you know you've done a good job without all that sort of self-doubt coming in? Or how do you know it's good when it might be terrible? Well, how do you direct yourself?
Yeah, I think it was weird because that sort of doubt came in the editing stage, because usually, this is obviously my first time directing myself in a feature. So usually when I've just, acted in something, it's out of your hands, and then you see it perhaps a year later and you're like, oh, that's what it was like. And then that was it. You don't get to see all the versions. But I guess directing myself in the moment, because it was mainly just myself and Dean Kilby, it was more if I sort of felt it was real whilst acting it, I trusted that. And then on playback, I thought if I could sort of see that be translated well, or Martin's reaction of that was a bit.
It had to be my opinion. It had to come down to my opinion, and Georgia, obviously she'd be thinking it's terrible or whatever, and it kind of, because it was just us two editing.
Yeah.
It just, I'd have to sort of be firm and say, no, this is a really good take.
Yeah, it was the editing that was a nightmare.
Yeah. If you're an actor, normally you, like Georgia said, you kind of go away and you just wait for it to sort of appear on TV, or you go and see the premiere or whatever. But Georgia's there and she's able to sort of go through every single take, and like I think that's a lot harder than sort of going in and doing your job and then sort of leaving.
Yeah.
I think having to go through it and watch it over and over and over again, and even for me, like just from the filming and editing side, by the time we'd finished the film, we were like, is it any good? I don't even know if it's any good or not, because we especially with it taking like 4 years to complete, it just it got to that point where we just felt uncomfortable about it.
We were just numb to it, like, because when you've done sort of every single role, you start doubting yourself, like, because we're making it for us as well. There's no big studio, there's no producers, like, when's it going to get done? So we had the freedom, which was amazing, but then I think we needed to sort of rein it in a bit and think, no, this is it, this is the final edit, I'm happy with it, and then this is what we're sort of going to show as our sort of final piece. But I think in terms of just directing myself on the day, it was more, I sort of, because obviously it was very, very intense, if I felt it, then I trusted that was enough, because I think it's a sort of subject you don't want to overdo as an actor or a director. I think it's got to be in its purest form, or it doesn't sort of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you've done well is the performance and the style you shot it in match quite nicely, because you could have easily done stuff with a camera that could have misrepresented that performance, or that performance could have very easily gone into melodrama. And I would say I totally agree with you with the screening the film, because the problem with that as well is when you finish it, you show it to your friends and family, and none of them are going to say it's rubbish. So you can't really, you haven't got a good barometer from them whether it's any good. So yeah, it's really that festival squeaky bum moment when you're watching it and trying to work out.
We were sat at the back, just kind of all tense, going,
I was
"Oh,
ready
it's
to
rubbish,
walk
it's
out. I was
rubbish."
like, I'm off. I'm sick of
Yes, I
it.
know the feeling. I know the feeling. So talking about Fright Fest, what was that like for you? And yeah, tell me about Fright Fest. What was it like?
Well, I think it was kind of like, it was a bit surreal because we kind of, um, I don't think we weren't expecting it to get into any festivals. We'd sort of entered quite a few, and you know, no one seemed interested. So that obviously backed up our ideas that, oh, we've made a rubbish film, and
Yeah.
we'd sort of given up, and we'd sort of just put it through, you know, the usual kind of self distribution thing, and it was kind of all geared up for just going straight to streaming. And then we found out about Fright Fest, and it was like, oh right, well, you know, it kind of gave us a bit more of a, oh, maybe it's not so rubbish then. And so yeah, it was really surreal because we did genuinely get a really good reaction to it, which were really nice because, you know, like we said, it took so long that, you know, it was absolutely full of doubt. So it
Mm.
was quite nice to actually have people walk up to us and sort of confirm that we might have made an okay film. So it was really nice, and it kind of gave us a bit of a, you know, I don't know. I think we needed it because otherwise
Mm.
it would have felt a lot like it had not really kind of paid off. All our hard work hadn't have really paid off. You know, it being premiered in Leicester Square in London, and you know, it being like, you know, it was like the 25th anniversary, so it was a big sort of deal, and it just kind of made us. It was almost like, you know, it was a, like the universe had just sort of gone, you know, well done, you know, like you
Mm.
actually you did it. And so that's kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah, I think
Mm.
it sort of it felt surreal more from the side of because it took so long to make. It were like sort of a running joke. Like my brother would like send me things in the post saying one more screenshot because we kept going coming soon for 3 years. So it was like this running joke of, oh yeah, it's coming soon. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, it's coming soon. Like, oh god, we've got nowhere to hide now. So it was more, it's from it just being our eyes on it for so long, and then you're thinking people are going to judge it now, people are going to rip it apart, everyone's eyes are on it, like it's a whole thing now. And it was like, oh god, you know, like, are we ready for this? But I think, you know, sometimes you've just got to put yourself out there, because you, like Martin said, if we didn't just go for it, then it almost feels like a bit of a wasted journey in a way, because
Mm.
you know, we made a film we enjoyed to watch, we made a film that, you know, we couldn't have possibly done any better given the, you know, the budget that we had, the crew of just us two. So it's like it felt a bit like closure in a weird way, like of the, you know, the journey that we'd been on. It was a, you know, it was just nice for us to think, oh, that's what we did after all this time, sort of thing. So from that side of things, I think it was really nice to sort of see it come together as like an actual finished thing. It felt more real. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there is an element of letting it go, because I know what it's like when you've worked on something that's that long. There's always a little thing you can fix on it, and I bet even if you watched
I'm
it now, you'd
Oh
be
yeah.
looking at it.
yeah, I'm still. I said to Georgia, like literally last week, I said I might go through the film and recolor grade it because I've just upgraded my computer. I
I'm
thought
like, just don't,
I'll not
just leave it
not
Leave
struggle
it
as much
alone.
now. Like
Leave
I
it
can
alone.
make some changes and add some.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can always do like a black and white version or something. That's very fashionable at the moment.
Directors.
Yeah, director's cut. Um, yeah. So the other thing I was going to say. So let's go right back to the beginning. So you decided to make this film, come up with this idea. I'm assuming it was self-funded, was it?
Right?
It was partly, wasn't it? And then partly
It was
crowdfunded.
partly crowdfunded. Yeah,
Oh, crowdfunded. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
yeah we sort of, I can't remember how much we raised, but it was probably about half of what we ended up. It ended up being basically, you
Mm.
know, my money that kind of finished it off. Um, but yeah, like I think because we knew we could film it and edit it, kind of get it over the line ourselves. I think we kind of, you know, in the early stages, kind of put all our efforts into casting, making sure we got the right cast and the locations, and working out whether we could pay for people to get to these locations and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. And then when it actually came to the filming of it, it just was me and a camera, some lapel mics and some LED lights, and I'm going, oh right, maybe we should have put something, you know, even if we're
Aside.
just a sound person or a light, you know. I mean, but then I suppose that's what kind of makes it special, you know, in a weird way. It's kind of like, you know, we just sort of pushed forward and
Yeah.
kind of, you know, and luckily it kind of all came together. It was fixable in the end, sort of thing, because it was a bit. Yes, I wouldn't recommend that you make a film with just, you know, one crew member and an actress that's directing herself. It is quite stressful. Like it's not. I wouldn't do it again.
You wouldn't do it again, but was it designed that way? Did you think, right, we can do this because it will? Do you know what I mean? I can rely on myself to be in it and act in it. I can
Yeah.
direct it. You can do the camera and the music.
Yeah.
Did you when you wrote it? Was it to have that in mind?
I think it was that we'd spent so long talking about the the story. I mean, we didn't write the, you know, finished script till quite soon, just before we started filming, because
Yeah.
we were still kind of coming up with the ins and outs
Yeah, I
of
wanted
how it
to
was going to work.
cast it first. So we sort of had the premise of the story and the synopsis and what we imagined it to sort of how it played out. And then I put a casting call up, and then I wanted to actually write the script after I'd cast it, so then I knew who I was writing for, which I guess is not sort of a conventional way of doing it, but it's just the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So when we'd had all the cast, and I thought, I want to work with this person, I want to work with this person, I then sort of, well, there were characters created based off just the actors that were never meant to be in the film. So that's why it sort of took a long time. It's our first feature. Like, for me, I'd rather have watched the film and gone, I didn't like that, than watching it going, oh my God, why did we let that person change our mind with that? What if we did what we wanted? And for us, it was always important to just do what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. So then upon reflection, we think, well, they were all our choices. And then almost we can then step back. And when we make the next one, we know what our strengths were, what our weaknesses were, because we covered it all. So then the next one surely would be better in a way, because it was only us that sort of had to make those decisions, if that makes sense.
And also, sometimes it's about learning what you don't actually enjoy doing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not a kit and equipment person, or if you're not this, you're not that. It's just like, yeah, I had to do that. Done it myself, first feature film. The other thing about you guys, I'm right in saying you're actually a couple in real life.
Yeah.
This happened because of this film, yeah. And I just made a poster and put it on Instagram. Like I tried to sort of, because I'd never made a film before, so I didn't even know about, you know, casting websites or anything. I just sort of thought, I'll see if someone that looks at this on Instagram and gets in touch. So that Georgia got in touch, and I specifically said that, you know, someone who's over 18 but can look young, sort of thing. So we sort of met through that, and we kind of we sort of we met, and then we ended up sort of, we filmed a few scenes with another actor, and it kind of didn't come together right. And then I just realized that when me and Georgia were talking, she just completely understood my story better than me, basically. So she'd be going, oh, what if this, what if that, and, you know, why don't we ditch this scene, and we can introduce these characters. And it kind of, then we ended up getting really excited about it, and kind of looked at it as a completely new project. And it would kind of, when we sort of got talking about it properly and doing the crowdfunding, that kind of led into lockdown. So we had all this free time to just be sort of meeting up and
working on it,
chatting about this film that we were going to make, and it kind of just went from there. Kind of made, we became really good friends.
So a whirlwind romance made out of making
Yeah.
the film together is what I'm seeing.
I kept saying, like, when the film's done and finished, she's going to
Oh
leave
yeah,
me.
yeah.
That's the only reason it took 5 years.
Yeah. That was a fear.
It was his plan.
That's why he wants to keep working on it. That's the reason he wants to keep.
I just need to do some more colour grading.
What's interesting there is, so I direct, my wife produces. I know a lot of people who do as a couple work together, and often it's because you'll have no one who will have your back more than your partner in any situation, creative or technical, money, all that kind of stuff. But then, how do you advice for other couples? How do you not have a row about something petty and then end up bringing it on the film set?
That surprised. I think we were surprised ourselves when we got to the first week of filming. That
we were too busy.
Almost like, we were just too busy to sort of be a couple. When we were filming, we'd get to the end of the day and we'd kind of go, "Oh, I haven't really spoke to you properly," or because we'd just be so focused on what we were doing. But like you said, it is like that. I think a lot of people say, don't work with friends and family and stuff like that. But I mean, it obviously depends. If you're not in a good relationship, then obviously you might run into problems. But I think that for me and Georgia, it felt like it kind of was a really nice part of our relationship, because we kind of, like I say, we sort of ditched the couple stuff, and then we became this really good team. Because we had to have each other's backs because we had so much to do.
But I think my advice would sort of be, remember that you have got a common end goal, and it's sometimes I think you have to do what's best for that rather than your individual egos. And I think there's a reason why, like, you're making a film together. It's because you want to. So you always have to remember that you're doing it by choice. And because I think sometimes for me, when it was like, we'd still be editing, it'd be like 4 a.m. and I'd be doing ADR and I'd be like, I just can't. But then I think, well, it's okay to take breaks because we're doing this by choice, because remember that this is what we want to do. And I think my advice would just be to remember that, you have got a common goal at the end, and it's not personal. It's to reach that goal that you set out to do in the first place. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know from experience, so the first feature film myself and my wife worked on, I'd edit like yourself, I'd show her a cut. And if she sort of said, "Oh, this bit's not working," obviously there's a little bit of you that doesn't want to change it. It's sort of you've embedded it. You're like, well, this is what it's like. You don't know about horror, and it's easy to dismiss. But if you let go of that ego and go, actually, that's a really good point. It's all about making this thing as good as possible.
I got a bit annoyed because I kind of want to. Sometimes I'd be thinking, I've done a really great job of this. I'd be really proud of it. And then George would go, "Why don't you remove that bit, put that there, do that?" And it'd be like, I'd want her to be wrong, but then I'd go, "Oh my God, that's such a good idea." Like, I got so lost in something.
I think sometimes though it takes different pair of eyes, because if you're just staring at something for so long, sometimes it takes someone else to come in and go see it from afresh.
I think that George is very story orientated and thinks about people, where people are in their heads, whereas I'm quite more of a technical person. Does this shot match up with the next cut?
Yeah.
And is it flowing right? And it's two ways of thinking. And I think that's why it works really well, because I'd sometimes get lost in just trying to make it so it'd flow. And then George would come in with like do we have to see this now? Could we see that later?
Yeah, I'll move on from the couples therapy. I think it seems like you're doing all right. So talk to me about sales and distribution. You say sounds like you've put it up on streamers yourself. What have you done? Film Hub? What's your sort of?
Yeah, we went through Film Hub quite like I said, we weren't really prepared for Fright Fest as it's a a horror festival. And this is more of like a dark drama kind of film. It obviously has got like that sort of tone to it. I think that I can imagine horror fans liking it. But I think we like I said, I think we'd lost a little bit of I don't know. We'd lost a little belief in ourselves, and we just thought, well, let's put it through Film Hub and see what we can get on, and maybe we'll make a bit of money, and we'll sort of feel like that's the ending that we wanted. It was worth doing because maybe we'll make a little bit of money. But yeah, that we had to kind of get in touch with them and sort of put it on hold when we found out about Film Hub. Yeah, luckily it had not sort of showed up anywhere, so that worked out okay. I think we set it to be available like later this month. So I don't know if it's going to show up. I know that it's been licensed on Tubi and like 6 others.
Yeah. Did you ever go to traditional sales and distribution? Did you ever send it to distributors, or did you go straight down the Film Hub?
No, I've done. I think because this is another advantage of it taking so long that I thought when we were getting close to sort of some sort of edit, we really took our time with the editing. When we were sort of getting close, and we might have had a few little reshoots to do, or like a little scene to just plot to sort of go out and shoot, or some, like some drone shots or something like that. But when we were getting close, I started thinking, well, I don't want us to sort of be one of them stories where people you get in touch with people, they give you all these promises, and then all this hard work, and right at the end, just as we finished our film and it's like our baby, and then we hand it to some strangers, and then it kind of they're the ones getting all the money, and we're just kind of like,
yeah, I've been there.
But so I would really sort of like, I thought, right, whilst I'm working or while I'm driving, I'm going to listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, and sort of learn what's out there, for indie filmmakers. And found Film Hub by, is it Jay Horton? I think you've had him on your
Jason
show.
Horton,
Yeah. He seems to, he even says, doesn't he, he's like the Film Hub guy, like he just pops up when...
He is. If you Google Film Hub, he comes up.
Yeah. But it was a few videos like him talking about it, and other stuff. So then I just thought that sounded like the perfect sort of way for us to do it, because it kind of makes you're able to keep complete control of your film, aren't you? You can pull it at any time, and then you can maybe say if it doesn't work out for us, we can sort of pull it from Film Hub and then maybe go more down the traditional sort of distribution. That's what attracted me to it, and I thought like that should be our first thing that we try.
Yeah. And how did you find the process of being on Film Hub?
I can imagine for some people it'd be a real pain to do, because it's kind of you've got to have the right size images, and
there was a lot of steps
like that, and the right formats, and you've got to cut a trailer together. And I think just luckily for me, I used to be a professional photographer stroke videographer. I used to do I spent like 12 years doing weddings. That used to be before I met Georgia. That's what I've been doing for a long time. So you learn Photoshop, and you learn Lightroom, you learn all these little resizing of images and all that kind of thing. You learn you want to put their wedding on a USB drive, and then it's too big, and then you have to figure out all these different codecs, and so it kind of came natural to me, all that kind of thing. But I think apart from that, it is a really nice, easy sort of process, because they kind of they've made it easy
Yeah,
for
I
you.
think there's a
But
lot of
as easy
stuff
as
out
possible
there as
anyway.
well, like a lot of
Mm.
videos, a lot of people,
Mm.
things
Yeah.
that you can follow as well. So I think if you're not, as experienced in sort of putting those packages together, I think one trip on YouTube and then you've sort of got step-by-step guides. So
Yeah.
I think anybody would be
That's
able to do it.
that's I think the most difficult part was doing the subtitles.
Yeah.
Did that myself, and I used the Premiere Pro automatic subtitling thing, and it's like it doesn't do it right.
We
And
had
you've
to
got to
go
put
back
so
through
much
it.
more information on there. You've got to put like birds chirping, gust of wind. You've got to
Yeah.
write all that in there. So I literally typed out the whole film.
Oh God. Well,
Yeah,
my top tip for that would be if you do it again, use Veed. So
right.
Veed is a subscription service. You can stick your film on it. It produces AI subtitles, and then you can edit them in Veed. That's for anyone who wants to do subtitles, and they're pretty accurate. So that would be
Oh,
my
right.
top
Right.
tip for them. So then last one on Film Hub was how long after you press the button did it actually start appearing on services or get selected?
It got licensed on Amazon really quickly. I
Mm.
think that was the first one that popped up, and then a few sort of um, there's like this the OTT studios and Future
Mm.
Today and stuff like that, like them sort of platforms. And Tubi came quite late on.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
actually came up as licensed after I'd sort of said put it on hold because of
Yeah.
Fright Fest, and because that actually worried me. I thought, have they put a hold on it, or are people just taking it still? But yeah, we've had no problems with that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And you'll know, I guess, 3 months from now. That's the way it works, isn't it? The payment schedule is it 3 to 6 months? You'll see how it's doing.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of like that. That is the sort of, at this stage that we're at now.
Mm.
It only just sort of going live on Amazon, and then going to be live on other stuff soon. I'm guessing
Yeah.
because it has been licensed for a while. So I'm assuming that it might be a little. It could be a
Yeah,
few
you
more
don't.
months.
That's the
I don't
one
know.
thing you don't get an exact date. It's just like a surprise. Like you type in and go,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, there
Oh,
it
it's
is."
up.
Like yeah, that's what it's like. You like they just don't say, "Oh, by the way, it's on now." They're like, "It'll be on at
Mm.
some point," and you're like,
yeah, yeah,
"Okay." It's just every day. Like, is it
yeah,
on yet?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the stage that we're at now is the we're kind of waiting around now just to
Yeah,
see is it I'm checking Tubi all the time and
Mm.
logging into the film up thing just to try and figure out what's going on. But I think you've kind of got to leave it at some point and give yourself a break from thinking about it
yeah,
Yeah.
and stop checking emails and just sort of let it kind of play out. But we did trend on we might still be trending on Amazon,
Oh right. Oh lovely.
and they're trending
yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that sort of helps us out.
It's a good sign. That's a good
Yeah,
sign. Do you uh as a film hub person putting your own film out there, obviously you're responsible for the promotion of it.
yeah.
How have you found that, and have you got any tips for people to help promote your film?
Well, we sort of thought we were going to hold off a little bit with putting any money into advertising until we had Amazon and Tubi, because
Mm.
it's sort of with the bit of research that you can do, it does tend the word on the street is that Tubi's the one where you make the
Yeah,
money if
it's
you
free
can.
as well for people. So you're not,
Mm.
if you've not got Prime, you're sort of asking people to pay. So it's like Tubi is accessible to so many. I don't even think you
Yeah,
need to really make an account. You can just search films on there. So we were gonna wait
yeah,
for that, weren't we?
yeah. But then we sort of posted the trailer on TikTok, and I don't know if I just accidentally put some good hashtags on there or something,
Mm.
but that got it's still doing okay, but it went up to sort of 100,000 views quite quickly,
Wowzers.
and
Yeah.
people were really engaging in commenting, and there's like nearly 2,000 like saves and shares, and
Mm.
people seem to be sending it to each other, and so and I think that's why we've started trending.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think
when I was
like
young. I think we just sort of
personally,
hit that right little.
yeah,
I don't know.
I think like personally, I mean, we don't know yet because we've not fully gone out there with like a sort of advertising campaign. But just
Mm.
for me, like I always find it really engaging when I'm on TikTok and then you see a clip of like something happening like in a film and it's like most shocking film ever and it might not even match what's sort of going on because then you're in the comments thinking what's this film, and I think a lot of videos I've watched, the advice has sort of been take little clips and little quotes and just put it on TikTok and just keep putting it and hashtagging it, because eventually people will just search it, and especially if it's on something like Tubi, because they can put it on, it don't cost them anything. If they don't like it after 15 minutes, they can turn it off.
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of TikTok I've seen is the sort of place to be sharing clips and stuff. I don't know, that just seems to be doing really well at the minute for sort of engaging people. I think it's just about how you caption it, I think.
There's a lot of indie films on there, isn't there, at the moment? And it does seem to be sort of women in peril kind of films that are doing
Mm.
quite well.
Like true
You
crime
know,
style
like
things.
yeah, and I think as well. I think I don't know, like them sort of films. You can kind of let them off a little bit. It's a bit like horror, isn't it? It's like if they're not like really slick Netflix quality productions, you're still intrigued in them sort of stories.
Mm.
We didn't kind of write Charlotte for that purpose, but I think it's just around now it seems to be that that's quite a popular genre,
Genre,
isn't
yeah.
it? It's kind of kidnapping, girls being kept in basements for
Mm.
years and stuff like that.
It's a
So
lovely genre.
I know.
it's like the serial killer thing. Everyone's obsessed with serial killers,
Yeah,
and
it is. It is strange. I mean, I have to say yours. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but yours starts off in a very different place than it ends.
yeah,
So it's good at subverting that kind of genre. So I'll be really interested to see what people make of it once you get your first report. See how it's done.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so, what a simple technical question. People love the technical questions. So this is, what was it shot on, and why did you shoot it on that?
Right. It was shot on a Sony A7 III,
Right.
the camera that I was using for shooting weddings.
Yep.
I'd sort of, I'd kind of once I'd got that camera, I kind of thought, oh, this might be the one that might be good enough to shoot a film on, because before that it was kind of all 1080p and a little bit fuzzy and like the Canon 5D Mark II and Mark III, them sort of cameras. But it kind of we mounted it in like a nice rig with a follow focus and a monitor and stuff like that. We 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 kind of kept it quite simple, really. I mean, the drone shots were just done on like the Mavic Mini 2 or whatever, the little tiny drone. But yeah, it was mostly just handheld. It was like I said, we didn't have much time, with the actors and because we're on a tight budget, so it was kind of like I built a comfortable rig, with a shoulder pad and two handles, and so I could do the focus, and
Mm.
it was kind of like just pick it up, do the next scene, and it would have been nice to have some, more to have time to think about, more fancy shots and stuff like that, but yeah, like obviously there's way better cameras out there, but I think I don't know. I think it's more about the story. I think as long as you shoot as well as you can with what you've got, I think that hopefully people don't notice. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I certainly didn't think it was low budget when I looked at the quality of it. I think it looked really good. Watched it on a big telly, so it definitely worked for me. Last thing is, tell me, why should people watch it? What is it like that they might have seen before?
If I say what it's like, then it gives it away.
Gives it away. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe leave that one.
problem.
So yeah, it's like two films specifically, but you'll work that out after, because it's like, I think the only 2 films. I don't know. I think people should watch it because of that reason, because it's not sort of traditionally what you'd expect. And I think if people are interested in sort of from the filmmaking side of it, just because it was literally, I think it was between 16 to 18 grand in total for everything, and just 2 people on the crew. You know, if you're sort of interested in making films, then perhaps it would be sort of a good one to watch from that perspective. But I think,
yeah, I think that's kind of what I said a long time ago when we first started this. I sort of said to Georgia, I want to sort of make something, with like I said, it's just a stills camera, really, isn't it? The Sony A7 III. It's not even the, you've got way better stuff now, like the FX3 and stuff like that. But I kind of, what made me want to make, to sort of stop talking about it and actually make films, was by watching other people that had got off their arse and started, on YouTube and stuff like that, and I just like the idea of someone going, oh, these 2 people just made this with a camera that you could probably get for, I think, because we broke the original one on the end of like a filming week.
yeah,
I think I got a second-hand one for like £900, which is not much at all. Like if you did a crowdfunder, just take £900 out of that and you've got your camera, kind of thing. I just think, like, I think from the story point of view, why you'd want to watch it is because I think it actually is genuinely surprising what happens, and it kind of is one of them films where you want to sort of go, oh, I'll watch that again now with that in mind, so I can sort of see if there's anything that I missed or whatever. I like them sort of films, but yeah, like Georgia said, I think, I've always, if I found out that a film had been made with the camera that I own, I'd always want to sort of go out and watch it or whatever.
See how they did. And what I was going to say, going back to your earlier point about you guys doing everything, when you go on to your next one, which I'm sure you're thinking about, and suddenly you've got 30 people around you doing those jobs, you are going to feel amazing when you've got someone lifting all the gear and setting stuff up.
Well, my day job now, I make TV adverts, and
oh, lovely.
And we were making an advert for Lazy Boy, the sofas, the, like what Ross and Joey have on Friends or whatever, and we hired these people in, to sort of light it all properly. We're going from all these different locations, all these different sofas and all that, and the difference for literally like probably 4 seconds, each sofa was just literally a glide shot. As someone said something, sat on a sofa, and then that was it. It was cut. It'd just be one sentence by each person, and the effort in the lighting for just each of these scenes was insane. Like, lights outside to be sunlight, that be shining little slithers of light onto the bottom of the sofa to make it look more interesting. So like, since we've shot Charlotte, it's like I've been seeing all this stuff, and it's like, I want that next time. I want someone running around like a maniac.
I think I will say as well, like, just for anyone listening, like, we're always looking to make connections. So if you are in sort of any role, crew-wise, any role, and because definitely when we make our next one, we'll be looking to reach out to whoever's interested in working with us, just sort of any production side, any production role. Like, we're always wanting to sort of meet new people and meet new filmmakers as well. So that would be good.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you'd like to hear from more industry professionals, how they got into the business and how you can do the same, or you just want to listen to some cool stories from movie sets around the world, then please do subscribe to the Honest Filmmaker podcast.